When I was a kid, I'd come home to an empty house in the suburbs of San Francisco. No one was waiting, no note on the counter, just the sound of the door closing behind me and whatever the afternoon felt like that day. I'd take off my shoes, drop my bag off in my room and grab my snacks. Chips Ahoy cookies and shrimp-flavored crackers. Great combo, right? Dude, it was so good. You know, I didn't know it at the time, but that snack situation was basically a metaphor for my entire childhood. 1 foot in America, 1 foot in Korea, and somehow those two snacks tasted great together. And then I'd do what every Latchkey kid did. I'd sit down in front of the Sony Trinitron TV in the family room and start flipping channels, just looking for something. I didn't always know what. And sometimes, not every day, but enough times to matter, I'd land on them, Bo and Luke Duke, tearing through Hazzard County in a bright orange Dodge Charger, like the world couldn't touch them, like nothing could catch them, like they were exactly where they were supposed to be. And then I'd stop flipping. I was a Korean American kid, I was alone, and somehow those two guys made me feel less of both. Hey, I'm your host, and this is I Took the Long Way, a podcast about life, detours, and somehow still being here to talk about it. Pull up a chair. So here's the thing. I don't have one memory of watching the Dukes of Hazzard. I have a lot of them. Different ages, different rooms, different versions of me sitting in front of that TV, which tells you something. This wasn't a phase. This was a thread that ran through my whole childhood, and for the longest time, I didn't think that meant anything. It was just a show that I liked. Cars, Daisy Duke, chase scenes, in a place called Hazzard County. But here's the thing about being a kid who doesn't feel like he fully belongs anywhere. You look for places that'll take you, and sometimes you find them in the most unexpected corners. Hazzard County, Georgia. Not exactly where you'd expect an Asian kid to feel at home, right? And yet, here's something people forget about the Dukes of Hazzard. It had a narrator, Waylon Jennings. That calm, all-knowing voice just telling you what was happening, watching everything going down. Like someone who'd seen enough of life to find it more funny than serious. You know, I think about that voice sometimes, and honestly, I've had his voice and that theme song stuck in my head all week. But there's something powerful about being the narrator. It gives you something the characters don't have. Both sides of the story. And that's what being Korean American actually gave me. I was never fully inside one world or the other, but I could see them both clearly. And maybe that's not a disadvantage. Maybe that's a narrator's seat. Let me tell you what the Dukes of Hazzard is actually about. Underneath the jumps, the car, and the theme song, it was actually an Emmy-nominated comedy back in the day, if you can believe it. The mid-'80s. Great times. But it's about two people who are always on the outside of power. Bo and Luke Duke. Two cousins who couldn't legally leave Hazzard County because they were on probation. The law, represented by Boss Hogg and Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane, was corrupt, petty, and stacked against them. Boss Hogg was a short, white-suited, cigar-chomping good old boy who owned half of Hazzard County, and he still wanted the other half. He wasn't some grand villain or anything. He was just a greedy, chubby dude in a white suit who had just enough power to make everyone's life difficult. And Roscoe, well, Roscoe was his incompetent and hilarious sidekick. He was always chasing down the Dukes, going down dirt roads, crashing into haystacks, talking to his dog, and never once catching them. Bo and Luke ran circles around all of it, every single episode. Not by playing the game, by being smarter, faster, and more loyal to each other than the system expected. I was absorbing all of this without knowing it. At the time, I just thought, cool car, cool jumps, this is a really fun show. But underneath it, I was internalizing something. You can be an outsider and still be the hero of your own story. The system doesn't have to validate you. Your family, whoever that is enough. You know, there's a specific kind of invisible that happens at school when you're the kid with no shared history. Kids would talk about their grandparents, their cousins, weekends at grandma's house, playing games in the backyard with a bunch of people who shared your last name and your nose and your laugh. And I just had no reference point for that. Not because something was taken from me, but because that was just never my life. My relatives were in Korea, and that whole sprawling, noisy, showing up on a Sunday kind of thing, that existed, just not in my world. And here's a part that's always been hard to articulate. I'm not sure if I even knew I was missing it. I think of it like this, you can long for something you've lost, but you can't really long for something you've never had, right? I mean, it's something I only ever saw from the outside, in other people's stories. I guess I longed for it, but I didn't really know what I was missing, so could I really want it? I don't know. I still don't have an answer to that. So instead, I had to find things that traveled, and the Dukes traveled. I knew the car, I knew the jumps, and I could talk about it. And for a kid like me, a shy kid trying to find his footing in a mostly white school, that mattered. Pop culture was currency, and I'd saved up just enough to buy my way into a few conversations. Now, I want to go back to the show for a second because I missed something the first time around. The Dukes of Hazzard is, at its core, a story about family loyalty. Bo and Luke don't leave each other, ever. Not for money, not for women, not for a better situation somewhere else. Uncle Jesse raised them, Bo, Luke, and Daisy, and they showed up for him every time, without question. The family is the unit. The family is the thing you protect. Now, here's what I didn't understand as a kid, but feel in my bones as an adult. That was my family too. It was my mom, my dad, my brother, and me. That was it. In the entire country, it was just the four of us. We were our own Hazzard County. And I don't mean that in some idealized way. We weren't a perfect family, far from it. We all had our issues. There were hard years, hard days, hard weeks. But we were what we had. And when you're four people against the world with no backup, you just figure it out. You show up. Because there's no one else coming. Bo and Luke rode together because that's how you survive when the system isn't built for you. We stayed together for the same reason. And that's not a Southern value. I mean, that's not even really an American value. That's just what families do when they're all they've got. And we were all we had. Four people building something from scratch in a country that wasn't ours yet. And so I watched a show about a Southern white family and absorbed something my own family had been trying to teach me the whole time. I just needed to see it in a different way that felt exciting. In an orange car going 90 miles an hour, jumping over a creek. But now when I picture that car, I don't just see Bo and Luke. I see my brother in the passenger seat. I see my parents back at the farm holding it together. I see us. And culture is funny like that. The lesson finds you wherever it can. Sometimes it finds you in a family room in California, alone after school, watching a family that looked nothing like yours. In 2013, my parents and brother told me they were moving to Korea. My daughter had just been born. I've mentioned this before, but I've never really sat with it until recently. I was sad. But here's what I want you to understand about that. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a split. We had talked about it before, and I just didn't know when it would happen. I mean, they had their reasons. retirement is easier in Korea, healthcare is better, they bought some property. Why wouldn't they go back? They did what they wanted to do in the States. They raised a family, tried their hands at multiple businesses, and they gave it their all. And at the end of the day, you just can't argue with that. So I didn't. But they didn't leave me. They trusted me. My parents came to this country with nothing and built a life here as 4 people against the world. And when it was time to go home, they went. It was my turn now, to build, to protect. So I did. My daughter is here, my wife is here, and everything they ever taught me about loyalty and showing up, that was pointing me right here. That's an inheritance. I took what they gave me and handed it forward to my daughter, born right at the moment everything shifted. The Dukes never left Hazzard County, not because leaving wasn't possible, but because the people you love are what make a place home. Take them with you and you're still home. Leave them behind and it doesn't matter where you go. My parents and brother took each other. I had my wife and daughter. We both stayed home. My parents did what they came here to do. They raised a family in a country that wasn't theirs, built something out of nothing, and when it was time, they went home. No drama, no crisis, just people who knew who they were and what they'd accomplished. I used to think that I was the one left behind, but that's not what happened. What happened is they handed something to me, the same thing their parents handed to them. You show up, you protect your people, you don't fracture when it gets hard. I just get to do it here, in the country I was born in, with the family I built. That's not a loss, that's the whole point. When I was a kid sitting in that family room after school, eating Chips Ahoy cookies and shrimp crackers, I thought I was just killing time until my parents got home. Turns out I was learning how to hold a house when they were gone. The lesson my parents taught me, the lesson the Dukes somehow reinforced on a TV screen, it was always the same one. You stay for the people who need you there. Thanks for listening to this episode of I Took the Long Way. Next episode, I want to talk about the time I decided to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, repeatedly, for a badge. So take care of yourselves, and if nobody's told you lately, you're doing better than you think. I'll see you next time.